There we go. I believe we are live. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to those who may be in those particular time zones, and welcome to this peer webinar. We'll give a minute or two just for everyone to filter in, and then we'll be able to take you guys through some of the exciting updates that'll be coming down in the next kind of couple of weeks.
Absolutely. Welcome, everyone. Got some big updates coming. I'm excited, Tom.
I'm excited. I'm pumped, man. I'm pumped. I know it's going to be hard to be pumped at 4 a.m. for you, but tell me that is that energy level high? Are you ready to go? Are you hyped?
I've had my energy drink, Tom. I'm ready to go. I'm hyped up. We only just got back from IT Nation about
Of
a couple of
course.
weeks ago. So still got a little bit of the time zone difference in check there. So definitely keen to go and keen to show everyone what we have today. We've got a big update.
Fantastic. Yeah, looking forward to it. Awesome. Alrighty. Let's see how many we've got. We're 2 minutes past. We've got quite a few in here already, still pouring in, so we'll give it an extra minute or two. And then we can continue with absolutely destroying Aaron's poor sleep schedule by dragging through this hour at 4 a.m.
Yeah, give everyone to chance to go get a coffee, grab a drink, and
Yeah,
file
put your
in
feet up.
from their
Let's have
last session that they've just joined. So
exactly. Let's have a nice, warm, cozy hour of peer updates.
absolutely.
Alrighty, looks like participants have started to, it's still climbing a little bit, but it started to peter off a little bit. And I want to make sure we have everything. So Aaron, are you ready? I'm ready. I think like we
I
should
think we
whack
can
on.
get started. Yeah, let's get
Uh,
started.
let's do it then. So, welcome everyone to this Peer AI Desk product update webinar. We're going to be looking at Platform 17, specifically AI Triage today. It's a huge update. It's very exciting with a lot of features to look at. And I think, Aaron, am I right? This is one of the largest updates that we've done here at Peer so far.
Yeah. This is the launch of AI Triage. It is a huge update. We've got a lot to cover. So yeah, definitely very excited to go through that and take everyone through what we have today.
Fantastic. Awesome. Well, let's jump in and let's start with just a couple of intros. For anyone who doesn't know us, my name is Tom. I'm one of the solution engineers at Peer, and I'm joined by Aaron.
Hey everyone, I'm the CTO of Pia, the creator of Pia, and one of the founders of Pia.
Fantastic. And for anyone who does miss it, it is currently 4 a.m. for Aaron, so we are very lucky to have him here. I appreciate you joining us at this very early hour, Aaron.
It's good to be here, Tom.
Fantastic. Alrighty. Well, just a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. Hopefully, everyone can see and hear what we're sharing here today. If you can't, you probably can't hear my warning here, but if you can't, do try to play with the settings or rejoin Zoom. But if you can't, don't worry too much. Or if you do need to jump off, we are recording the entire session, and you will get a link to that recording within the next few days once we're all finished, as well as a survey as well. I do also want to ask everyone to just ask questions or put your thoughts into the chat or into the Q&A box as we go. And please do use that reaction button down there as well. I know it's a bit of a modern thing to say, is hit the old like and subscribe button. But it really is awesome to see what sort of things are
Do you
landing
love
on you
those
guys as well.
reactions?
It is fantastic. It
Absolutely.
gives me the warm feeling inside when I see that go through and we run one of these. Now, of course, we'll go ahead and jump into things, but I'm aware there may be some people on this, maybe some MSPs that are not currently part of the Peer family. They're not part of the solution. They may not be too familiar with what Peer does. So I just want to spend a few minutes at the beginning basically talking about the platform itself and essentially why it exists. So, for those of you who don't know, Peel was actually born out of an MSP, actually one of the largest MSPs in Australia, which is VITG. And it was created to essentially solve the problem of that linear growth that you're going to see as you constantly absorb other businesses, as you take on other clients, increase the endpoints you're protecting. You also have to expand the service desk in a similar fashion to make sure you can always cover those new resources as well. This is a very hard ratio to break away from. Aaron, talk to us a little bit about how VITG with yourself accomplished this and essentially how Pia came to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Tom. And yeah, when I joined VITG, I think it was probably would have been maybe 6 years ago now. At that time, and obviously since then we've split out of VITG with Pia, and it's been about 4 years. But I think I was employee number 8 at Virtual IT Group. And there are over 400 staff now. So during that growth, and definitely in the early stages, we really wanted to like a lot of MSPs, figure out the best way to make the service desk efficient, and make sure that we can, do more tickets with less, right? That is a huge aspect of, you know, growth as a service desk, as an MSP, is figuring out how do we, grow that profitability without just throwing more bodies at the problem. And so you don't want that top line, growing in a linear fashion to your bottom line. You need to see that top line growing, while keeping your costs under control. So that's something we definitely focused on, and we really looked at, things like that endpoint ratio. Looking at it, one engineer to 200 endpoints is obviously a great starting point, but getting that, how do you get that from 1 to 200 to 1 to 300, 1 to 400, or even higher? That's something that we built Peer to solve. And at the time we looked around, and we looked at the tools available. You've got RMMs, you've got other tools in the space. In some ways, you could say MSPs are very lucky. There are so many tools out there. You could also say that's a curse, because it's a very fragmented landscape. So you've got a lot that you're dealing with. So we really wanted something that actually cut to the heart of solving the challenges on the service desk and directly addressed resolving tickets on that service desk. So doing the service requests, doing the incidents, and that's why we built an automation platform that has over 60 automations today, and a range of core functionalities, core features that MSPs can use to automate their service desk.
Absolutely fantastic, fantastic history. Thank you, Aaron, for taking us through that. So let's go ahead. Let's jump into some of the agenda that we're going to be covering off today. So as I mentioned earlier on, this is going to be centered around the launch of our new AI triage feature. This is going to do an awful lot to the general dispatching and triage process within the service desk, including the standard items like stamping and dispatching the ticket itself, as well as several new AI tools such as analysis, AutoStart, and AutoReply. We will take a look at every single one of these as we go through and the kind of benefits they're going to be bringing to the service desk for you. We'll also look at some of the other things that included as part of Platform 17 as well, and perhaps even a sneak peek of what's coming up in the future. And of course, we will have some time for any questions or issues that are raised throughout the call as well. So I do recommend to throw in those reactions and throw in those questions as we go, guys. We will have some time to go through those and answer all of your queries. Now, before we jump in and actually start to take a look at the features themselves, Aaron, let's just talk a little bit about what triage is. Why are we here? Why is this tool so important for the MSPs today?
Yeah, absolutely. And just going through that list, I will say, it really just shows how big of an update this is. Everything that Tom just went through there is a feature in this list, and we have even more than just AI triage in this launch, which we'll cover later on. But from a triage and dispatching perspective, what we really look at is, we've got, if you think of a robot, you've got the head of the robot and you've got the body, the arms and the legs, we take that to be, the automations that we're actually running to complete tickets on the service desk. But what we really need to focus on as well, and what's part of that picture, is the brain, the head of this robot, right? And so if you take a ticket and you consider a ticket coming into your service desk and think about what's actually happening, right? So you have someone looking at those tickets, right? They're actually analyzing those tickets. They're figuring out what that ticket is. They're figuring out, is this person happy with the service? What is the problem on that ticket? Where does it need to go? And who can actually work on that request or incident, right? So that AI, that analysis component of it, is where we're really focused on solving that with AI and with a whole range of intelligent functionality that is targeted and focused on the service desk and an MSP. So that's something that we've done a lot of work on, and that's what we're here today to share with everyone. We really see automation on the service desk is not just the automations that can resolve tickets, but also that intelligent triage and dispatch component of that. And certainly when I was at IT Nation and from other conferences and things that we've been to, we keep hearing this feedback, from MSPs that if you ask an MSP, what's your major pain point? What is that? And a lot of the time we're getting that feedback. It's triage, it's dispatch,
Yeah.
that's what people are telling us. So it is part of everything we want to offer. It's part of what we want to do. And we've been able to find time to actually focus on it and make it part of our out of our entire automation on the service desk, Tom.
Fantastic, absolutely. And to speak to that experience as well, I know some of you on this call probably as well have run through a bit of a triage configuration with myself or the rest of the product specialist team. We do have something in there for the moment. It's a bit of a more early version of triage, doesn't have quite as everything that we have that we're looking at today, but it's also very manual. So one of the conversations we have is is triage currently being handled within that service desk? And like you said,
Yep.
Aaron, a lot of these MSPs, they have an individual or multiple whose primary responsibility is just handling those tickets, reading through it, stamping those values, moving to where it needs to be. So essentially, by enhancing and building out this brain power, we're going to be able to alleviate a little bit of that stress, a little bit of that responsibility, and essentially let those techs get on with a little bit more technical work. Is what I'm hearing. Is that correct?
Absolutely. So the triage we have today, and obviously if you're a partner and you're using that triage, you're familiar with how that works. Um, that was built with a very narrow use case in
Mm.
mind, and the primary use case of that is to get tickets to automations through Pia, right? What we've done is we've taken a step back and we've looked at the entire triage process across the entire service desk, right? And so AI triage is really about solving the broader triage dispatch across your service desk, and not the narrow of use case as what we had in the initial version of triage and what people are using today as triage. So more features, more functionality, but what it ultimately means is you're able to really get a lot closer to fully automating that dispatch and triage process on your service desk.
Absolutely fantastic. Well, it sounds very exciting. Let's jump in and actually start taking a look at this. So I'm just going to switch across here to my peer portal. I've gone one too far in my slides. I'm going to switch across here to my peer portal and to this brand new dashboard, which essentially you can see is essentially that linear process of what happens to the ticket all the way from when it is first raised by the client all the way through to potentially running a peer automation. So we're going to take this and we're essentially going to follow it through looking at a imaginary ticket all the way through looking at each step individually. And the first one we're going to start with, of course, is ticket ingestion. This is essentially where you tell triage what is it that you want to look at. What boards, what statuses are we monitoring for brand new tickets? Now, in our example here, we're essentially monitoring our triage board. Of course, I can add multiple ones to there, the same with statuses as well. I can even go into a very advanced side of things if I want to configure it that way. And for those of you a little concerned about the AI getting into the desk and starting to do things before potentially having the full configuration built, we even have a simulate only mode as well, where Pia will still tell you what it would have done with all of those tickets coming through without actually making any changes. So you can be comfortable with exactly what we're going to be doing before actually flipping the switch and giving Pia control. Now, once that ticket is grabbed by Pia's triage, the first thing it's going to do is typically going to be the same first thing that the engineer or the dispatcher is going to do, and that's going to be to classify and stamp the values onto that ticket here. And we have a tab specifically for that, and it's the first one we're going to take a look at here. So Aaron, do you want to take us through a little bit about what we're doing specifically on this stamping tab?
Yeah, absolutely. So for anyone who's not familiar with what stamping is, and that's what we call it at PIA, that is setting the classification on the ticket within the ticketing system. For ConnectWise, that will be the type subtype item. For AutoTask, it's the issue type and the sub issue. For Halo, obviously, the corresponding category value selection in Halo as well. So what we do in this screen is, you can see down on the left there, a list of classifications. And so they're what we call AI classifications. And when Pia classifies a ticket, when we use our machine learning to classify that ticket, we're putting it into one of those classifications. Now, that's just our language. That's how we describe what those classifications are. But obviously, every MSP has their own language. Every MSP has their own categories and classifications within their service desk. And so we want to make sure that you can shape this to exactly how you want it to work on your service desk. So what you can do here is you can say, well, if it's this classification in Peers AI, then map it to this type, subtype item, or these categories within your PSA. And you can see there, Tom's picking from the drop downs there. I saw a few hearts in the chat. Maybe that's from some people who are using Triage today. But for anyone who is using Triage today, they will be very refreshed by this functionality, because it is a huge improvement from user experience perspective. You can see how easy this is to configure, Tom.
Absolutely. I can tell you, especially from my experience, I know some MSPs in the chat are going to be agreeing with me here. This is a massive relief. It's a massive benefit, even that this small part here, that this is pulling these live values from my PSA, because before it was manual entry and it did take a little while. So seeing I can just grab these here, especially if any values have changed, I can come in here, update them in 2 clicks, is really fantastic, really awesome to see. So we've had our first step complete. We've stamped our type, subtype, and item, or issue type, or whatever it might be for the particular PSA you're using. We've updated that onto the ticket. Now let's go one step further and run our dispatch tab. This is going to be what happens next with that ticket once those values have been updated. Now, Aaron, again, let's take us through this. What are we looking at here?
Yeah, for sure. So again, for anyone who's used the existing version of Triage, this will be a huge improvement for you. But what we're really looking at here, and we've added a range of functionality to this, we've added conditions and actions to this, but this is a list of rules that run where you can configure the actions that you want to perform on your service desk from a Triage dispatch process perspective. So you can see here, Tom's just opened up the Triage Dispatch Edit pop-up, and we can actually see, you give it a name, you set some conditions, and as we look through those conditions, we've got all these options available, right? So we can say, well, if a ticket comes in and its ticket body contains this value, or its AI classification is this, or Pia has an automation that you could use to automate this ticket. So you've got all these advanced conditions here. And of course, this is just the starting point. We will be adding more and more conditions and actions over the coming months as well. But as you can see here as well, Tom's just nested a condition group there. They are very flexible. You're able to create all your complex condition logic. So you've got your end and your or conditions, and you can nest that logic as well. And then from those conditions, you can then go into your actions, and you can say, well, if the ticket meets my criteria, what do I actually want to do with this ticket when you're setting up this dispatch rule? So you're able to perform all sorts of actions in here. You can route to board, set priority, route to the assignees directly, and set ticket status. And as I mentioned before, we're going to be expanding this as well. And this really is a great set of options, though, that people can use today to configure exactly what they need, Tom.
Fantastic, thank you. And I do want to point one out here as well. And this one here, the set ticket custom property, I believe this is something we heard a lot of feedback about having this included. A lot of MSPs use these values for a whole range of things, not
Yes.
just peer specific. So that's something we've added as well, which is really awesome to see.
Yeah, it is. We had a lot of feedback about being able to put conditions on custom properties, set custom properties. We know MSPs set up all sorts of things in their service desk. You've got other tools and things interacting with your service desk. We want to give you the flexibility. You can even create a rule that says, take peers classification and just write it to a custom property, or if there's an automation available, then write to a custom property and say that there's an automation available. So you have a lot of flexibility around how you can configure this.
Fantastic. And for those of you wondering as well, we've only got a couple in here. You can imagine this list will grow quite large as you go on, but you can reorder these depending on the efficiency and what would make most sense for the service desk as well. So you can really go very customized here, making sure it is an exact fit for what you need. Well, that's awesome so far. Now we've stamped and potentially dispatched this ticket within seconds of it landing in the service desk. So for you guys who don't know where, Triage actually runs within usually just 5 to 10, sometimes quicker seconds when the ticket lands, which is generally going to be a little quicker than the dispatcher can. Now, how did Pia know what actions or what classifications or values to stamp and use on that ticket? For that, we're going to jump into our next tab here, which is AI analysis. Aaron, talk to us a little bit about all of the work and improvements that have come into the Pia's AI engine.
Yeah, for sure. So Pia has its own machine learning model, and we built this probably about 4 years ago. We started working on this machine learning model. I think it was around then. But we've trained it with hundreds of thousands of tickets, and effectively, what we've done with this classification model is we've upgraded it. So this launch actually doubles the number of or the types of tickets that PIA understands. So we've gone from 30 AI classifications to 58 AI classifications. And it also increased the accuracy as well from we had it about 73% on a per classification basis of accuracy to 94% or just over 94%. So it's a huge improvement. This is very important though, because one of the reasons why we spend a lot of time and energy and effort on getting this right is that it's key as part of triage and dispatch. Understanding these tickets is key. So really making sure that that Pia understands and can do that AI analysis on those tickets to classify them, because any decisions, any rules you set up to automatically do anything on your service desk is going to be has to be a high confidence. You want to be very confident. We want people to be confident that it's going to help and not hinder, and it's going to get it right. Vast majority of the time. So we've done a lot of work around that, and it's a massive improvement.
Fantastic. And by the look of what I'm seeing here, I have the ability to add a new AI rule as well. So presumably I could even influence and build on Pia's already fantastic AI engine here.
Yeah, so this is one feedback we had a lot from a lot of people, is that they want the ability to influence the AI. So AI analysis tab actually gives you the ability to create AI rules in here and say, if Pia's AI doesn't pick it up, then create a custom rule. You can come in here, you can set conditions, keyword conditions on emails. Pia's AI, for example, it'll pick up user onboardings, but if you do, something different for Salesforce onboardings or Google onboardings, right? You can come in here and say, listen to the word Salesforce in that email, and then classify it as a new AI classification, a custom classification. You can create those as well, and you can add more classifications for what you need. So definitely the power is there for you to shape it to your needs on the service desk. And I'll just point out here, so obviously you've shown the subject conditions and that. We do also have an advanced condition here, so you can add advanced conditions, nested conditions, and regular expression rules as well for people who are familiar with that.
Fantastic. Incredibly powerful. That's fantastic. So presumably any new classification I created here would also be then leveraged in both those stamping and dispatcher screens as well.
Yes, absolutely. And in addition to that, and some examples that you might want to do as well. You've got all your knock alerts and things. You can come in here and create all your knock
Awesome.
alert rules, Tom. So you can definitely use that power, classify all the different types of alerts you get for your service desk just by setting up some rules here. And then you can create automations to run off those rules. So that's the type of power we're talking about.
Amazing. And that is incredibly powerful. And you touched a little bit there on our next tab here. Now, we've already gone a long way with this ticket when it's come through. We've stamped it, we dispatched, we have our custom classifications, and Pia's already a fantastic AI engine there as well. But of course, there's one more tab that we haven't touched on here, and that is AI AutoStart. So take us through AI AutoStart. What are we looking at here? What benefit am I getting from this last tool here?
Yeah, so this is by far my favorite feature of the launch, because and one of the reasons why this feature is important for me is if you look at what Pia does today, the primary automations that we have on the platform, they are run by people who might be using. You've got your engineers using the Pia chatbot within a ticket within your PSA to complete the ticket, right? So you've got an engineer driving those automations. That's one scenario. The second case is where you have rolled out SmartForms to your clients, and your clients are filling out those forms, and then that's running an automation on the back end. This actually introduces a new way on your service desk for those automations to get run, and that is by Pia's AI actually starting those automations. So this is an amazing update. And in terms of why this is important, is that, with the AI classifying those tickets, we know if it's a PC performance troubleshooting issue. We know if someone's logged a ticket and said, my OneDrive isn't working. We know it's a OneDrive troubleshooting issue, and Pia has automations to actually diagnose those issues and actually work through those problems. So what we're doing is launching AI AutoStart as a way to say, well, if a ticket comes in and someone says my computer's running slow, why can't Pia just automatically go onto that machine, diagnose the issue, perform any self-healing actions if it can do so for the non-user interrupting actions, come back to the ticket window, and by the time your engineer opens that ticket, there's already diagnostic information they can see. We've already done the level 1 diagnostic steps, potentially resolve the problem with a self-healing action, and then presenting the engineer with the next step within that ticketing window. So that really cuts out like a huge part of the diagnostic and troubleshooting steps. So this is a massive update because it will change the way that you interact with automation on your service desk. And what we're doing is with AI AutoStart, we're launching 2 automations as part of Automation 10, which is being released in the coming weeks. We have the PC performance report and the OneDrive troubleshooter. But we will be launching many more automations. All we're doing is to start with is just upgrading automations that Pia already has to work with the new AI AutoStart functionality. But as you can see here, what Tom's showing is that you're fully configurable, right? You can turn this on and off. If you want those AI AutoStart automations to run, if you want them to run for specific clients or all clients, and if you want to set that confidence level as well. So, you might say that I only want this automation to run if Pia is very confident. And so you will set that confidence level to high. So all those things combined create this new amazing experience where you've got this information coming back to the ticket, Tom.
Fantastic. I can't wait to see it in action. Now, looking at this configuration here, you mentioned that 2 are coming out of the box, which is these 2 here, which are some of the best time-sensitive type issues, especially when you're talking about performance on the user's machine. But I do see a couple of in there as well, something even that's not peer specific. So the ability to create these types of auto start automations, is that something that we as partners or as MSPs are going to have access to? Is this something Pia is going to keep fairly locked down?
Good question. So with everything in Pia, our philosophy is to make it as customizable as possible, and that doesn't stop with our AI AutoStart functionality. So absolutely, MSPs, if you got automation engineers, you can create your own AutoStart automations. You can have them sitting here next to Pia's AutoStart automations. And by all means, I can think of a few examples off the top of my head. We've added a new AI classification, for example, for classifying tickets that are website domain renewals or SSL certificate renewals, right? Pia doesn't have an automation for that. You want to create an automation that automatically renews those things, go and do that, right? We're not stopping you. You can automate to your heart's desire. You might create an automation that, if you get a phone system ticket, that you can do something on a phone system API, right? We've got the integration functionality. You can customize automations, so you've got the power to do that, Tom.
I love it. Fantastic. And to any of those who are interested, we have a lot of resources around automation development. There's an entire community Discord server that we always highly recommend joining, where you can essentially just go in there and say, hey guys, look, I'm trying to build this. I'm not sure how to do it, or I'm running into some issues. And one of our devs, one of our engineers, or one of the helpful members of the community will jump in and assist as well. So if you are interested, even if you've not done something like this before, let us know. We've got training, we've got resources, we've got a whole community around it as well. So I really do encourage you guys to get involved.
Absolutely. And what I will say is, obviously we have a philosophy of customization, but like I said, this is just if you're trying to get ahead of some of the things, but we will announce some of the things that are on our roadmap. But if you're looking at what is Pia going to launch, look at the automations we have today. those are the ones we're going to be focused on to start with around AI AutoStart. So you can expect to see some of those ones being upgraded to support this functionality. Just in case people are going to ask, I know I get the question a lot, what's coming? So we don't build
Of
something
course.
that P is going to release. So those are the things we're going
Makes
to
sense.
focus on.
Fantastic. Awesome. Well, this has been a fantastic walkthrough triage. It's a lot of exciting stuff here, but let's actually see it in action. Now, before we do, I just want to do a quick shout out for the Knowledge Portal guys. A lot of you are probably already familiar with it anyway, but there's a whole new section as well as for everything else in Pia, specifically for every triage tool that we've been looking at today. So if you do want to have a quick read through, start taking into all the kind of details in drinking in everything you can do, definitely check out these guys because there's a lot of information available there for you. Now, let's jump in and actually run this. So I've got a bit of a ticket here, which I'm about to submit. I'm going to essentially simulate a ticket coming through from my client here. We can see the client company is peer testing. The contact is Tom McCaffery. He's complaining about his machine being slow. He does this all the time. Now, if it's anything like I've seen his machine before, it's games, it's Netflix. There's probably a Bitcoin miner running in the background somewhere. But let's help him anyway. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt and see what we can do. So I've created this ticket to simulate a brand new ticket landing in my service desk from an email. So we've got my summary and description here. We've got our contact and email. We've also got our standard entries in here. So we've got our triage board, our new status, and our type simply set as must change. Now I'll go ahead and save this ticket here, simulating obviously landing in the support desk as an email. And as soon as I do that, P is going to be moving in the background. It's going to be jumping in and starting to run through some of the configuration and some of the tools that we spoke about a little bit here. In fact, we can see it immediately within the automation pod here. We can see P is connecting to a machine and starting to grab some information for me. Aaron, do you want to talk us through exactly what's happening in the background here?
Yeah, so you can see how quick that was, Tom. And effectively, what P has done is as soon as that ticket has come in, we've classified the ticket, we've checked the confidence, we've checked your configuration. Have you got that enabled? Is that client enabled to run that automation? And we've determined that, Tom, you are the contact on that ticket. So we're going to connect to your computer through the PIA agent, and we're going to run a diagnostic on your machine. Now, what's really powerful about this is that quite often, and a lot of people will know this, you'll get that support ticket. Hey, my computer's running slow. And if you take, if you jump on that ticket 2 hours later and call that person, and they might tell you, oh, it's all working now, no problem. That's not a problem anymore, right? That person's going to call you back tomorrow or the day after, the next time they have that issue. So it's really important in this particular case that we are able to capture that diagnostic information as soon as that issue occurs. So as you can see here, as soon as that person's logged that issue, we're able to jump on that machine and pull this information out.
Fantastic. I do like to think this is the IT equivalent of when your car is making a funny noise. You bring it to the mechanic. Of course, it never makes it while it's there. It's only while you're driving out and about. So you have to return multiple times. If this exists for a mechanic, they could jump into my car as soon as I hear it. We'll be quizzed. It'd be absolutely fantastic. But at the very least, we can help with the service ticket for now. So we can see, of course, Pia ran this, and we'll take a look at these results in a moment. But I also want to give the ticket a quick refresh because the other thing that was happening in the background, of course, was that triage stamping and dispatch process. So you can see here that our board, our status, even our type subtitle item, and our ticket owner have all been updated according with those rules and configurations that we put in place. And this again happens within a couple of seconds of that ticket landing in the support desk. It's already been sorted. The dispatcher doesn't have to spend any time going through this ticket. Pia's done everything it needs to do. Now let's take a quick look at the results. You can see for my machine here, we did get a few things that popped up as warnings here and get a little bit of a breakdown of some of the high level tests. But if I click see details here, it actually prints me out a much larger report of all of the details from that machine. So I can see everything about the hardware and software on the machine itself, the RAM and CPU utilization, the services and processes using that CPU and RAM. I can't see Steam or BitLocker in here at the moment, so I feel like he's probably doing okay. We've got the RAM disk. We've even got how much space is free on the disk, all the way down to the last 10 patches that are installed as well. So if they are saying anything's particularly slow, maybe they haven't rebooted or updated their laptop in a while. And if you do get those sneaky ones in there and say, yeah, of course I've rebooted it, I even have the uptime in here as well. So we'll be able to narrow those down straight away. So that is
All
really
within the ticket window, Tom.
Exactly. Again, another point, I haven't had to connect to the user's machine and interrupt their day at all to grab any of this information, which is absolutely fantastic. Now, I want to jump back into the dashboard just for a second here, Aaron, because I did note that throughout our process here, there is one tool that we haven't touched on yet, which I really want to know a little bit more about. Tell me, what exactly is AI Auto Reply and how is it going to benefit us?
Yeah, for sure. And I will point out at this point, this is really a large release. So hopefully we still have everyone following along. AI Auto Reply is a functionality that's actually a component of SmartForms. So for anyone who's not familiar with SmartForms, SmartForms is a digital forms portal that we provide access to clients where you can provide that access to your clients, I should say, where they can log in and fill out a form, for example, a user onboarding, a user offboarding, a password reset, and they can actually submit that form. It creates a ticket in the service desk, and it starts and it runs that automation in the back end. And of course, for anyone not familiar, you can configure zero-touch automation, where it will just go through and do the action, or you can have it prompt the engineer and get them to click the button to complete the action. So that's SmartForms in a nutshell. Now, we launched that about 12 months ago. Actually, it might even be almost on the dot or a little bit less than 12 months ago. And so when we launched that, we've got all these MSPs rolling out this functionality to their clients. But of course, we've had a little bit of feedback, and what we found is that you give MSPs, you give your clients a new forms portal. We know a lot of people are using existing forms portals, so you might have already given them something, given them access to something. So it's maybe a second portal they've got to remember. But also we know what users are like, right? You give them something to use, are they going to use it? Well, half the time they're probably still going to submit a ticket through email to your service desk, right?
Right.
So what we really wanted to do is make sure that when people submit that ticket to your service desk, that we can respond automatically. So this is the AI auto reply, right? So we're able to classify that ticket, and we're able to say, well, it looks like someone said, hey, Sarah is starting next Monday. Can you set up a new user account? We know that's a user onboarding ticket, so we can respond if they've got SmartForms enabled. We can respond and say, hey, you've got a form here you can fill out. Go fill out the form and make your request a lot easier to fill out, right? So that is in a nutshell what AI auto reply does, Tom.
Fantastic. Can we see it like everything else? Can we see a bit of a live demo? Can we see exactly it in action?
Of course you can. Let me share my screen and I'll show you how that works.
You hero. Thank you so much.
All right, here we go. So I'm a client. This is my email inbox. As you can see, I'm a very busy person. So if we set up a new email, all I'm going to do is submit a ticket to my service desk and say, can I get a password reset? So we'll send that through to the service desk there. Now, of course, as this goes through, we know that with Pia's AI, we are classifying that ticket. We know that in this particular case, we don't have an AI AutoStart automation for password reset. That request there that I submitted was for a password reset. But we do know that we do have a smart form for it. And so AI Auto Reply has automatically responded. Now, this email, if you've used smart forms before, you'll know that we completely white label it. So we don't control obviously the logo and things here. You put your own logo in. You can change some of the wording in here to make it obviously shaped to your MSP. But this is the email that someone will get. We've noticed you've submitted a request for a password reset. We have an automation. We have a form available for this, I should say. We don't talk about automations to the clients. We just talk about digital forms and expediting a request. And we have some reasoning behind that. But take me to the password reset form, click the link, and here we are. Open SmartForms portal and immediately says, help us make your IT request go smoothly. So what this is saying is, we'll convert your ticket to a IT request. Here's your details. Do you want to submit a form? And if you hit yes on this, this is going to convert that ticket into a SmartForms ticket. So within your PSA, obviously there's already a ticket in there. The person's already submitted an email to your PSA. Pia is actually going to take over that ticket, and Pia is now going to do that ticket, right? So if someone's logged the
Excellent.
ticket, your clients have converted that straight into a SmartForm request, and they're actually able to complete the password reset process. Now, in this case, this password reset is for delegated or authority users, people who can perform password resets on other people's behalves. But if I submit this form here, and that's it, Pia will go and do that password reset. So it's as easy as that. Hopefully, I made that look easy.
Yeah, absolutely did. It looks fantastic. And I really love the fact that we are converting, taking over that existing ticket rather than just simply submitting another one on top of everything else. But of course, the MSPs, you guys are going to have to handle that ticket. We're not going to do that. We are specifically converting that ticket. So there's no additional headspace or anything like that that's coming through the service desk, which is absolutely fantastic. Thank you,
Yeah,
Aaron.
huge functionality, and this really is going to help your adoption and usability of SmartForms. We want to help you get people using these forms because it's going to make a huge difference to the automation that occurs on your service desk. So very big.
Absolutely. I saw a lot of hearts, a lot of reactions coming through in the chat during that as well. So I think that landed pretty well, which is absolutely awesome. Um, well, that's been a huge amount of stuff so far, a huge update, but there is one or two more things. So let me steal the screen share away from you here. If Zoom is going to allow me to do so here. I'm going to go for desktop 2. There we go. So there are one or two other things that are going to be included as part of Platform 17 as well. Some of which we've actually been looking at throughout our session today, and some of the eagle-eyed among you may have noticed it. It's Pia's refresh. There's a much nicer, much more elegant and kind of streamlined UI kind of theme that's going on here. We've got our little Pia bot here. The buttons have been enhanced, and everything's just a little bit nicer. And this actually extends to our editors as well. So any automation engineers among you will know that the package editor and activity editors, they were pretty good before, but they may have been a little behind the times in terms of the visuals. So these have all been updated with enhanced functionality as well. So we can just make writing your own automations and getting involved with the development process easier than ever before, which is absolutely fantastic. Especially if someone uses them a lot, this is a big benefit, my Beth. I think that's really
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, and for anyone who's spying, there is a validate PowerShell button now within the package at the activity editor. So we've added a
My
bit of
favorite
functionality as
edition.
well.
My favorite edition there, which is absolutely awesome. Now again, that was a huge update. There was a lot of information there. I know that took a little while, so I thank everyone for hanging on as we went through everything there. But hey, since we're here, I wouldn't be able to let us go without asking Aaron, can you give us a little sneak peek? Can you talk a little bit about what's coming down for MSPs in the future?
Absolutely. So we have a couple of releases upcoming. Now, I do want to point out here, it was only feels like I think it was only a few weeks ago that we launched our last major release around integrations. So we have huge momentum of releasing features, and we're gonna try our best to keep up that cadence, that bar. We really have set the bar, Tom. There's huge amount of updates here. So we
I love
have
it.
the next launch coming, which is Automation 10, which is going to have a couple of new automations. Now, one of those is the bulk user offboarding. It is the most requested automation on the Ideas portal. So for anyone who hasn't used the Ideas portal before, definitely get on there. We do look at the Ideas portal. We take things from there, and we've got integrations and things. You can go on there and upvote those things. Now, as part of Automation 10, we've got those two new automations, but we do also have that two AutoStart automations, the OneDrive troubleshooter and the PC performance troubleshooter will come out with that. In addition, we have a bit more support around semi-hybrid coming out in Automation 10. Now, in Platform 18, which is the next platform release, we will have we're going to be announcing Cloud Radial integration for SmartForms. We know people use Cloud Radial. For anyone using Cloud Radial already as a forms technology and don't want to give their clients multiple forms portals to log into, you'll be able to embed your SmartForms into Cloud Radial. So that's a big one coming in Platform 18. We do also have some Halo PSA support coming around embedding the peer chatbot directly into Halo PSA rather than the Chrome extension or Edge extension that some people are using today. And we also have more agent support. So one thing that we pride ourselves on with the Pia family is the first class support we give your client environments, whether you've got complex environments like a school with a teacher-student network that are kind of separate networks. You've got a real estate company with a head office that's got, multiple sub offices that have maybe one with a different network, and this one uses the head office network. We pride ourselves on handling all these different types of scenarios so that when you turn Pia on, you can plug and play and you can set up as many of your clients as possible. So part of that launch, and something that a lot of people have been looking forward to, is the ability to link the Pia agent to multiple clients and multiple client profiles. So that's something that we'll be launching as well. So that's a lot of functionality, and there's also some more SmartForms updates as well that will come out as well, Tom.
Fantastic. Looking forward to it. Sounds like we'll be back here again with all of you guys pretty soon. So I'm looking forward to it. That's really awesome. Now let's get into the Q&A. There's quite a few questions that have come through. I actually want to start with the first thing first. This has been asked a couple of times already, and I know people are going to want to know. These triage updates, everything we've run through today, it's huge, it's powerful, it's awesome in a word. But what are we charging for this? How much is it going to take for me as an MSP to get this involved and start reaping the benefits of these fantastic new tools, Aron?
Absolutely, Tom. So I can almost feel everyone hold their breath when you ask that question. There is no extra charge for this functionality. Triage dispatch, that is huge. I hope everyone's very happy with that. I can see some love hearts coming through in the chat. But this is almost a product on its own, Tom. We could have almost launched a separate product to the market with this, but
Peer 2.
we feel exactly. We feel it's extremely important for MSPs who are automating their service desk with Pia to have all the automation capabilities. And I tell you, we can't throw enough automation capabilities at people. So so we want people to have access to this. And in terms of of course, if you're on the consumption plan, you do pay for triage based on that consumption. So how many tickets Pia has triaged, and you also pay for automations Pia completes. So of course, if you're running AI AutoStart through that. But in terms of if you're getting up to the higher levels of your triage usage, we do have the endpoint model, which is the comparative model to when you start getting the full use out of Pia on your service desk. So using the consumption model to really ramp up your usage, and you're always able to switch over to that endpoint model. Definitely don't want you paying ridiculous prices on the consumption model, more than you would on the endpoint model. So definitely be aware of those options, and have a chat to your partner success manager if you have questions, or talk to our team if you're not a peer partner at this yet.
Absolutely fantastic. So huge bombshell drop is basically completely free to get this in and start using it. But how do I do that? When am I going to see this? How do I get my hands on this, Aron?
Yeah, for sure. So we're in the stages of rolling out this functionality at the moment. For early adopters, we have a handful of people who are already very keen to give this a go and are locked in to trialing this in the next start trialing this in the next few weeks. For our early adoption program, if you want to join that and you want to be earlier on the list, talk to your partner success manager. You can get on that list of early adoption partners that will come and roll this out to as part of that. And of course, for general availability, so that's for people joining who are just going to get it straight away, or for everyone else, that'll be kind of targeting late February at the latest in Q1. That's where we're targeting at this point in time.
Fantastic, exciting. Now, there's been quite a few other questions that have come in while we've been answering here. So we're going to start running through these. Hopefully, we have time for them all. If we don't, and we don't get to talk about absolutely everything, do know as Pia and Aaron mentioned, they're all one and the same in my brain. As Aaron mentioned, we do have an extensive team of support around you guys if you absolutely need anything, and that's both for existing and oncoming and new potential partners as well. If you want to reach out and have a bit of a demo, or just have a conversation, or just even just a bit of a feedback Q&A session with any of our technical resources, please just reach out and let us know. So I'm going to fire a few of these, Aaron, at you fairly quickly, and we'll see how many
Yeah,
we
let's
can
go.
get through. So first and foremost, I think we touched a little bit about this in terms of the browser extensions. One of the anonymous questions was, will there be a Firefox extension created?
That's a good question. At this point in time, we haven't got that on the queue. I would definitely upvote that in the ideas portal though. But I think I've seen someone hack this together in the Discord. So if you search
Yeah,
for Firefox in the Discord, I think they changed a few lines in the extension that they were able to run that in Firefox. So if you're after a bootleg version, there is one floating around. But definitely upvote that in the ideas portal.
fantastic, awesome. The next one we have down here is, would the types of type and item need to exist within ConnectWise or the PSA before we can classify and stamp a ticket as well? And the answer to that is yes. So we're going to be pulling those values live whenever you're configuring the triage. So we're basically just going to be able to pick from your existing conditions. You don't have to create anything new. You don't have to enter anything into PIA. It's basically going to pull those live every time you run that
And
configuration.
in terms of that as well, if you don't have the classification, you will need to create it at this point in time. We will in the future be working on the ability to have PIA automatically create those. We don't have that at this point in time, but it
Oh,
is something down the track that we will work through. And of course, if you do set that up and you change your type subtype item in your ticketing system, so PIA is now out of alignment on its configuration. PIA has a health rule as well that we've launched as part of this functionality that will pick that up. So if you subscribe to those health rules on the homepage of the PIA portal, you will get a notification saying, hey, PIA is now out of alignment. You've got to
fantastic.
go look at that as well.
Excellent, awesome. And this is a good one. This is from like, will the values that are in our current triage package be migrated over to this, or will this need to be completely renewed?
Ah, good question.
Mm.
We analyzed all of the partners that have triage today. Now, people have configured triage in all sorts of weird and wonderful ways, and we gave a lot of
Oh yeah,
flexibility around how to do that in the first version of triage. This new version of triage does have similar flexibility. We don't allow people to modify necessarily the triage automation script directly, but we do allow you to create extensions. If you do want to hold on to your own version of triage, though, we're not going to stop you from doing that. But if you want to take full advantage of the new functionality, you'll need to move across to the new triage version. So most people, from what I can tell, it should be a fairly straightforward moving across to the new version. But we do have a migration plan. So we're going to come and talk to every partner and also work through that with you. We will be providing support on our team side to actually move that configuration across for you. We're not gonna put that on to everyone. So yes, there will be support for that when we go to general availability for the feature.
fantastic, awesome. And the next one down is essentially regarding the conditions within the triage as well. Devin's asking specifically if we could ever use client type as a condition, or I guess what sort of extra things potentially might be added down the road.
It's a good question. You can We will add more conditions. Definitely put them in the ideas pool and upvote the conditions you want to see and you want to add. We're always looking for feedback. We're definitely keen for feedback from those early adopters as well, because we will be adding some extra functionality and planning some of the work around triage after the initial launch. But if you want to add custom conditions and it's not available, you will still be able to create an extension automation, and you can manipulate the condition logic even further in PowerShell. So we have got that extra extension capability and customizability if you want to go to that level.
Absolutely. Perfect. And this is one that I know has been asked before. I know it's something we've always kind of had on the brain. This is from David, asking if there's a way to route tickets using a round robin or load balance type of method as opposed to assigning them directly to individual techs and engineers.
This is something we are working on. I can't share too much right now, but rest assured we are absolutely working on this problem um, in our kind of next phase of development. So what we've set up with Triage will is a baseline for some amazing things to come. What you can do with it today, though, obviously is huge and we want to make sure that people can take full advantage of it today. And when those new features come out, it's just a matter of we're coming out with features all the time. So just a matter of flicking them on once we do.
Absolutely fantastic. And this was in basically in terms of the ML of the AI engine that we're using. Could you train it to recognize a certain change request or type of email, and potentially even seek approval based on the type of request that comes in?
If you have a custom automation for approval, we do have some approval functionality. It's a little bit of approval functionality in Peer. We do have in the plans as well to bolster that approval functionality.
Mhm.
But you can create an automation around approval as well if you want to customize that. In terms of the AI component of the question, you can customize the AI analysis rules through the AI analysis screen. We are looking for we will be in terms of directly shaping our machine learning model, though. If you've got tickets that you want peer to classify, give us that feedback. If you allow us to use your data in the model, because we don't use everyone's data right now in the model unless they explicitly give us that permission. Once you and on that point as well, once you start using the new AI triage, you'll actually get a pop-up, and there's a checkbox that says, before you start using this, are you okay to share your data with Pia so we can use that in the machine learning model? So tick that box if you want to help us with that, and definitely give us your feedback because yeah, we will use your data to train it. Sometime in the future, we'll build in some functionality into the platform to allow you to do that. But for right now, if you log it through our support, we do use and you allow us to use your data, we will do that.
Fantastic, awesome. I realize when we're getting close to the time, we're not going to cut off and leave any of these questions unanswered. But I do want to move the slide slightly and just give you guys access to anyone who does need to jump off for the hour. I just want to give you a quick reference to these materials here. So you do have the QR code in the top right hand corner if you do want to book a demo and see some of the other awesome stuff that P is able to do. And believe me when I say this powerful, this awesome triage stuff we looked at today is really only the tip of the iceberg. There is so much more. We can't wait to show you it all. So if you're interested, please do book a demo so we can take you through that. Otherwise, there are also a lot of resources on our YouTube channel, a lot of guides, a lot of demos in there as well. Please check that out. And of course, smash the like and subscribe button while you're there. That'd be fantastic. A lot of resources on our website, peer.ai, as well as our LinkedIn and Facebook pages as well. So we'll continue with the Q&A. If you do need to drop off, don't worry. We will be answering all the questions and it will be recorded, of course, as well. But I just wanted to throw that up there for anyone who does need to jump at the top of the hour. Um, Now, the next question we have here, Aaron, is something I could probably answer with my limited knowledge here. And it's, can I trigger an AutoStart automation upon a SmartForm submission? Which is quite an interesting question because the SmartForms basically have that kind of functionality almost built in, right? They're basically an automation themselves that can then start the full automation process if configured to do so.
Absolutely. Yeah. So if you've already got someone filling out a smart form, the automation's already running. In fact, the way that you create smart forms, you actually create an automation in Peer, and then you attach the form to the automation. And the reason why smart forms are automations in Peer is because when you actually something that's unique about smart forms in Peer is that you'll notice that when I did that password reset, it actually had a drop down of all the users that I could select from. That's a live dynamically populated list coming from the environment of that particular client. So the automation has run and it's actually gone and retrieved that information from the environment, brought it back, and then populated the form. That's a very unique thing that we have with smart forms today that other forms technology doesn't have. So you're already running an automation. Once that form's submitted, the automation can move on and do all sorts of things that you want it to do.
Fantastic, awesome. And in the very same kind of kind of vein there of what we're talking about is what are some of the more unique smart form automations partners have essentially made themselves? So I can talk to a couple of these. I know that one of the most common first steps into smart form automation is extensions onto the existing one. So for those of you who don't know, Aaron kind of alluded to a little bit earlier, P has a lot of them out of the box. You have your reset passwords, your onboardings, your off-builds, and everything like this. Now, as you guys know, pretty much every client's going to have a different requirement in terms of the user onboarding process, for example. There's going to be a lot of very specific processes there. Now, Pia does a good job of doing the vast amount of user creation, syncing, and configuration, but there's always going to be a little bit extra that you're going to want to add, maybe just for a certain client. So one of the first things that people do is actually add additional functionality onto that smartphone. Specifically, quite commonly, it's a hardware request, right? So you might have the user details fill out all of the details about the user as they usually would, and then at the bottom of the form, you can ask them what type of hardware do they use? A laptop? Is it a desktop? Are they traveling? Do they need a phone? And all these kind of options then can then kick off additional automations and scripts within the PIA process that might reach out to the sales team and automatically generate that quote and that ticket to get that hardware ordered. So that's some of the most
Yep.
common things I've seen, but I don't know if you have any particular examples that you've seen in your time taking a look around as well.
Yeah, and I was just going to say there, Tom, we do have examples on the Knowledge Portal and on the Discord about how to customize
Very true.
smart forms automations as well, that Pia provides out of the box. One of the things that we do differently to other automation technology is we provide this out of the box experience that works out of the box, right? So you configure it, and once it's up and running, it's all working. You don't need to go to the customization level to get the 60 automations and the 12 smart forms up and running. But once you've got that all up and running, if you do, like Tom said, if you do want to add one or two fields to the user onboarding form, you can customize it and just add those fields without having to customize and look at the entire process. You can just create your automation, slot it in, and your
Exactly.
automation just does that one or two things.
Absolutely. Now we have one here from Jack. I hope I'm saying that correctly. It's actually I think there's one, two, three, four, five questions in here, so we'll work through them. But the first one is if there is an engineer that essentially calls in sick before the day starts, could Pia proactively assign the scheduled tickets for that engineer to a different engineer? I think that kind of calls back to the essentially round robin that we potentially might be looking at in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yes, you can do that if you create a custom extension automation to do it, and add some logic in there for the start of day, end of day logic, and or your employees' rosters or schedules. You can customize it. You will need an automation engineer to do that. But in terms of the interface, that's something that we're working on to advance is some of that functionality. So, it's definitely possible to do. And we do have a couple of MSPs who've done that, have gone to that level with their dispatch and triage automation.
Fantastic. I think the next question down is pretty much in the same vein of that as well. Instead of creating rules that assign tickets to a specific engineer, is it possible to create a security group or list of engineers that would then essentially have peer tickets assigned to them and essentially in a round robin? So that'll be part of that same process there.
That's
Um,
the round robin one. And again, if you create a custom extension, you can achieve it. But in terms of
yeah.
the UI functionality, we're still working on that at this time.
Fantastic. And this is an interesting one because I know this is something we've done in a custom triage at the moment. But could Pia also stamp the summary description to a standard that the MSP is used to, or is that something that has to be done manually by the dispatch or engineer? So I feel that would more fall into that potential where absolutely you could set something up to edit that kind of summary, stamp a new value as part of a kind of custom extension to the triage package itself.
Absolutely. We have an article on how to integrate ChatGPT, or not ChatGPT, obviously GPT 3.5 or 3 or 4 through OpenAI's API. So you can integrate that into your automations, and you can definitely create an extension, for example, on the triage and dispatch to summarize the ticket, post, post that back into the ticket. So that's an automation that, in fact, if you ask for that example on the Discord, I'll actually get one of our team to provide that as an example. I'll commit to that. So yeah, definitely
Fantastic.
can do that one.
That's been recorded, guys. You can take that to the bank. You can't get out of it now. No, but fantastic. And the next one down, I think, is really interesting as well. I think this would be a fantastic use as a potentially an AI auto start automation. Could Pia also add links to knowledge base articles, whether that's internal or external, to the notes section of the ticket in the stamping function? So I think that'd be a fantastic use of you see a type of ticket and we update internally and say, hey, did you know there's a guide in this? Maybe it links to IT Glue or internal knowledge base, essentially promoting that guide to the engineer itself.
Yeah, again, this will be a customization at this point in time.
Hmm.
But the power is there. I'm very keen to see what people do with this. So yeah, definitely, that one would require indexing of the knowledge or tickets within your system in terms of the history and maybe knowledge within IT Glue or other systems. We don't have quite that at this point in time. But I'm sure someone who's crafty enough to write some custom automation could probably figure out how to do that. So yeah, not a button you can click in the portal, but definitely achievable.
Absolutely. In fact, I have done something quite similar in terms of the triage itself. It actually is a small automation that stamps the classification and confidence score into an internal note as well. So similar to Aaron, if someone's interested in that and asked in the Discord, I'd be happy to provide that as an example for you guys to build upon. Um, the last question in this particular block here was essentially, do the items need to exist in the PSA already? And of course, we know that that is the case at this point now. It will pull those live each time. We also had a question from John, essentially referencing the old peer triage version, and if something does need to be moved across. That is essentially is the case at the moment. Although the tool will be available, it doesn't automatically inherit these settings yet. If you do want a session with one of the product specialists, for example, to help you through that, then we can do that perfectly as well.
Yeah, we have a transition plan to move everybody across. So if you're not coming to talk to us, we will be coming to talk to you about moving your existing triage configuration across to the new AI triage when it goes general availability, which is in that February period next year.
Fantastic, awesome. And the next one down is a simple but difficult one, which I'm personally going to throw my hands up as it's not my area. How much is Pia?
That's a good question, and that is something that you'll be able to have a chat to our team about because there's a few different options there, and that's something that they can run you through. So we've got a consumption plan, we've got the license model, and yeah, definitely have a chat with our team and go through those options with our team.
Fantastic. I also see a few more essentially, I think, overzealous partners who are in their portal right now and cannot see the AI dashboard, cannot see triage just yet. That alludes to the earlier question as well. It will be something that comes and it lands over the next couple of weeks, even earlier potentially if you are one of the earlier adopters as well. So definitely stay tuned. Keep an eye on the blog post as that's definitely something you guys will see very soon.
Absolutely. For people who get that update, they'll get an email saying they've got Platform 17. But remember, it is an early adoption feature. So when we turn that on, you'll be hearing about that through Partner Success Manager or through our product team if you're in that early adoption program, at least until we make it generally available in that February period. So.
Absolutely fantastic. And then we have a specific development question here where someone's looking to potentially write a smart form or I suppose AutoStart process that will allow the users to reset their AVD or RDP sessions themselves safely
Yes.
or deploy software to the machines from the smart form as well.
Yes, both of those things can be achieved. I think I've actually seen partners do some of those things. So yes, you can
Oh, even
absolutely
better.
create custom smart forms that will install software to the machines and provide a list of software options. Click install and go install that software through the PA agent. And you can definitely create smart forms that reset an RDP session on an RDS environment, which we know is a common one. You can get where you've got ghosted sessions, you need to force them to log out. So definitely all that customizability, you can do that with smart forms.
Absolutely fantastic. And the final question we have here is, I'm not a customer yet, but I can see a lot of benefit from the triage and stamping features. Can I just get started with this as part of the service before the full adoption of the peer platform?
At this point in time, the consumption model is our lowest entry point. It isn't that expensive from what I understand, but definitely it does include the full suite of functionality. Um, we it is good feedback. I've had the
Mm,
feedback from a couple of people. I will say that this is a brand new functionality, and we will be looking at other options on how to get it in people's hands. But we don't have anything to announce at this point in time.
understandable. Thank you. Awesome.
But
Um,
on that point, just definitely make sure you're talking to someone in our
yeah.
team, and we've got people who will hang on to that for you and make sure we get back to you once we have that. Or obviously, if you're looking at our consumption plan, that might be an option for you as well as an entry point.
Fantastic. Good information. Thank you. And there is a final note here just from John. He's happy to rebuild the stamping himself based off the training today. If he can get it implemented a little earlier than February. So a bit of a bargain to chip to there to free up some of our time. And I think that sounds fair. I'll see what we can do for you there, John. But
Yep.
that is everything. So guys, I want to thank you for all of your time today. I know it hasn't been a particular long one. A lot of updates, a lot of really cool stuff. I hope you've enjoyed it. I do recommend checking out the YouTube. There will be a survey. You will have a link to the recording as well. If you guys do want to take a look at that, it would be greatly appreciated. And while we're
Love
here,
those emoticons in the chat. Loving that.
good stuff. I appreciate that, guys. And while we're here, just before we wrap up, Aaron, any final words or final thoughts you want to leave with our partners, whether they be current or potential future?
Yeah, I think what I would say is, obviously we've got huge updates that we've just released around integrations, that we've released around AI triage. We have a lot more to come, and so definitely take advantage of it today. Get into the product space, get into automation within your service desk, and really embrace it because it's only going to get better. And we have huge updates planned. So yeah, definitely now is the time, and we want to make sure people are using as much automation on their service desk as possible to automate their MSP.
Absolutely. Thank you, Aaron, ever so much for your time. Again, appreciate you getting up at 3 or 4 a.m. for us. It has been an absolute honor having you here. Thank you, everyone, for joining. It's been absolutely fantastic. The questions and the engagement, I really do want to thank everyone for all of their effort today. And hopefully, again, it has been a fantastic update for you guys.
Yes,
Stay tuned. There's definitely more to come. You'll definitely get your hands on this very
thanks everyone.
soon. And we want to know all of your feedback as well. But thank you, everyone.
Absolutely.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a fantastic weekend. And I'm sure we'll talk to you all again very soon.
Bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thanks, guys.